Hey everybody, welcome. I am Romi Hill and I'm the designer behind Designs by Romi. And today is my almost weekly Thursday YouTube Live. And excitement, I have a new pattern to share with you all today. And it's so lovely to see you all in the chat. I have to tell you up front that we're having some pretty severe thunderstorms right now. So if I lose you in the middle, um, I will definitely reschedule. Don't worry. And do not worry at all. I'll definitely be back. So, okay. So I have hair sticking out all over the place. So embarrassing. Anyway, so here we are. Super excited because you all have been so patient and kind and wonderful while I have been getting this pattern together. And usually things do not snowball weirdly like this. So I really particularly appreciate everybody's kind patience and lovely notes that you sent me. And so my philosophy is if you're going to be late, make it the best thing that you ever did. So I am really happy with this, and I hope you are too. So super nice to see everybody. I am so excited. Kathleen, you don't have to be well behaved. I love it when you're not well behaved. It's really fun. So yeah, have fun. Have fun in the comments. It's all good. Um, So today I'm going to be talking about Blooming Desert, and it is some hot pink. So this yarn is from Chicken Coop Dye Works, and it was a custom color for me. It's kind of based on one of her other colors, but this one was custom for me because I love speckles and I wanted a super hot pink. Um, I just was in that kind of mood for a hot pink. So this is what came out, and I did actually, I noticed a couple of you asking about the yardage. So just so you know, that's a typo in the pattern that says 895 yards. The skein is 875 yards. And I also wanted to show all of you who I know get nervous about running out of yarn. I leave 10% of the ball. So I ended with a little bit over 10 grams left of my yarn in case somebody is going to be knitting at a looser gauge than me. So there's a little bit of leeway there for you to use extra. So just so you know. Um, so let me gonna hold this up so you can kind of get your bearings on it. It starts up at the top, right up here with Judy's Magic Cast On. And it's so seamless. Like when you weave in that end, it is so seamless. You will never be able to find it. And that was what the idea was, that if you're looking at this, you will not be able to find where it starts. So the cast on basically just does this little U part up at the top here and then continues out. It's based loosely on pie shaping. So that means that each of the motifs in here are going to increase. It's going to increase all the way across. Like basically all of the increases are written into each like repeat of the motif as it goes across. And if you have knit my patterns before, you know I like to do that. It gives a real organic feel to it. So I try not to stop and start different motifs. In this case, I have that panel of leaves across it, but I try not to stop and start motifs because I really like how it looks flowing into it, each other. So when you look at my patterns, you'll see in this type of pattern that there are no stitch symbols in there in the charts, and you'll see that it grows within each repeat. So if you have any questions or anything, definitely ask me. I am watching in the comments. So I'm a little bit more delayed today because it's Thursday and alive. That means that we get funky weather. So it I don't know. Maybe maybe I should do Wednesday or Friday lives. I don't know. Um, so yeah, maybe I just don't notice that it's funky weather when it's other days and I'm not doing a live. That could be too. You never know. So I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. Definitely let the Burgermeister go. Yes, let the Burgermeister loose, Kathleen, for sure. And um, let me see. Yay. Okay. So for those of you who purchased the Lace Lovers Club boxes, because I see Robin asked a question in here. So I sent out a code that you need to put it into your Ravelry library. So I've sent that out a few times. If you didn't get it or you didn't see it, which is like so much stuff goes to spam these days. If you did not get it, if you didn't see it, send me an email at help@designsbyromy.com and I will get you fixed up. So if you're wanting to download the pattern from your Designs by Romy account, log into my website and then go to your account. And then there's a little tab that says My Downloads in there. Just go to that little tab and it will show you all of the things that you have permission to download. So your pattern will be in your downloads. So let me see, kind of looking at, yes, I see people talking about an acceptable pink. I love hot pink. I'm not as really into like delicate pastel-y seashell-y pink, except for on seashells. That's really pretty. But yeah, if I'm wearing pink, it's going to be super hot, flaming, in your face, hot pink. So that's where that came from. See, I matched my lip gloss today to the shawl, of course. Okay. So let me transition over to my hands here, and I'm going to show you this up close so we can take kind of a closer look at everything. So before I was talking about where this starts, it starts right in here. So you see this big eyelet here, that's a giant yarn over that you work 5 stitches into. And that's exactly where this starts, right in this area here. So if you look really closely, you can see just a little tiny bit of an offset here, but it's pretty well hidden across here just because of where I started within the edging pattern and the method used for starting. So I used Judy's Magic Cast On because Judy's has it ends up with a purl row in there. So that purl row, I thought just like made everything camouflage a little bit more in there so that it was more difficult to see where it started. So basically what we're doing when we cast on is just this little area right in here. So that's where the cast on is. And the only part that the cast on has stitches for is for this edging across here. And then partway through chart A, you're going to add this yarn over. And from the yarn over, all of the stitches for the body are going to grow right in this area here. So the edging is a garter stitch, by the way, and then the body of the shawl is a stockinette based. So um, if you take a look at this, you'll notice that it's a little looser than I usually do my patterns. So I often do my patterns on like a US 4, and this uses a US 6. So I used a US 6 because I wanted that like super lacy, um, beautiful, kind of ethereal look to it. So that also means that before you block this, it's going to look extra horrible. So, like the looser your lace is, the more it needs to be blocked really to make it look good. So if you're used to using like a size 4 and then now you're working with a size 6, you will look at it and think, ew, that looks terrible. have to go down in needle size. Don't go down in needle size because it will block out. If you want this beautiful, ethereal, kind of flowy look to it, it will block. This is what it's meant to block out to. So all of this is patterned only on the right side until you get to that panel of leaves. So in here, it's mirrored. So here is the center part here, and the panel of leaves is mirrored out from the center. And you can, the way you can tell that this is patterning is worked on both sides is when you look at the yarn overs here. First of all, they look larger. And that's what happens when you're not working a stitch into each yarn over and you're like basically stacking yarn overs on both sides. So you can also take a look here and see that there's only one strand of yarn in between all of these little motifs here. So if you're looking at this line of yarn overs and you only see this one strand of yarn here, that's how it's supposed to look. That is what it looks like when you're patterning on both sides. So that one is chart G. So it's going to be a little while before we get to chart G. It takes a bit to knit the top part. So, and I will be talking more about this too. So no worries there. So I do want to say down here, you will notice after you finish chart D and then you go on below here, there are quite a few stitches added in here. So the way that this type of shaping works is you add those stitches and it makes the motif kind of narrower at the top, and then it will widen out the as the actual shawl widens out. So when you block it, you're not going to be blocking it like you would a piece of sweater or something like for, so here's the big increase. You're not going to block it like this. You're going to pull it out and let it organically flow into the next motif, and it will widen out just a little bit. So when you go to block it, take a look at my blocking picture and block it as a semicircle rather than like trying to make the edge sort of have corners to it, if that makes sense. So let's go back up here for a sec. This one is the medium that I'm showing. So the tall has another repeat of this little motif right here up top before you get down to the leaf panel. So this is repeated right here. So then when you get down to the edge, the tall also has two more leaves in it here. So here's this leaf edging. This is the last. This is the like the last chart right here with this open work in that area. So between this part and this part, the tall will have two more rows of leaves in here. So that gives it like an extra 6 inches in depth. So let me see. I am looking to make sure that I'm not missing any questions. Um, so don't worry if you're late. There's no need to apologize. This is here for anybody who, if you want to come back or do however you want to view it, that's what it's here for. So, okay. let's go back up here. So this is where you can really see that this uses a larger needle in these because it pulls the stitches across here. And that type of tension is part of this lace design. So basically, when you block it, you'll be tensioning it out and pulling these stitches kind of farther apart like this. And that is going to add to your design. It's going to give you that really ethereal, beautiful look up at the top there. And then down here, contrasted to this area here where things are actually more dense because there are more stitches in this area here. I just added a ton of stitches down here. So let's see. Okay. So hard to tell in here, but this is actually the area here that will get repeated more in here for the tall. So, okay, let's grab my pattern here. So the first thing, of course, to go over is, of course, that this is actually 875 yards. So sorry about that. It's just when there's a long pattern like this, it's tough sometimes to catch everything, no matter how many eyes are on it. So I appreciate when you all tell me what's going on, and I can I can fix things up. Okay, so in this, I have a written synopsis at the beginning. And like my other patterns, when you take a look at this, you can then use the charts in the back however you want to use them. So for instance, all the charts, like chart A, is presented in both written instruction and charted form. And there are two types of charts. So because this has a garter stitch border, and the inside part here is stockinette, all of the charts are written both in what you see is what you knit, which is you're just going to be working the symbol as it falls, and also there in what you see is what you get, and those are at the back. And in these, you can look at it and you can tell what the texture of the front of your pattern of your piece will look like. So you have a choice, three possibilities there. Whichever one you like, or you can use all of them if you want. Sometimes I look at different ones. So, okay, so I did do a short little video that shows the setup and chart A worked, but I'm going to do it on here as well and kind of blather a little bit more about it. And if you have any questions or anything, let me know, and I will try to answer them as I'm working. So this is what it looks like. That's what the shape looks like. That's the medium. So if you are doing the tall, because they have the same number of stitches around the bottom, you'll find that these points are actually a little farther apart, but it will block out still in that larger, it will still block out in a semicircle because of all the stitches that were added up above here. So yes, exactly. Kathleen said, choose your own adventure charting. Exactly. So you have, I like to give you options, even though that means the pattern is pretty long, but it's basically, it's long because the information is presented in many different ways. So you can choose which one you prefer. So most of the charts are worked both sizes. The only ones that are different, there's chart F, where if you're doing the tall, you're going to do the full chart, rows 1 through 24. And if you're doing the medium, you're going to start at row 13. So it's the same number of stitches. And when you get to the chart and you take a look at that, it will be obvious to you. So if you're like, what on earth does she mean? It will be obvious to you. It's marked very clearly. The only chart in here that is not worked by medium is chart J. And should you have extra yarn, if you're doing a medium, if you have one skein, I did not want to make you play yarn chicken, but if you wanted to work one repeat of this, you can always weigh your yarn, which is one of the coolest things about this type of shaping. Because the rows don't grow, you can weigh your yarn and figure out if you're going to have enough yarn to work some extra. So like I said, I could have worked one repeat of that chart, but I didn't want to make anyone play yarn chicken. So if you have about the same gauge that I do, you will probably have enough yarn if you wanted to add just one repeat of that chart. But definitely weigh to make sure that you have enough for the rest of the rows. And definitely understand that when you work chart K, the number of stitches will increase at the end. So once they increase at the end, those rows are going to use a lot more yarn. So definitely leave yourself enough room to be able to bind off. I like to use flexible blocking wires. So these are flexible along the bottom here. Um, that means it's really easy to pull it into shape. Because these are really thin blocking wires, I pin it a lot. So I pin all the way across here, but I still love them a lot. And I did the same up at the top here. I used flexible across the top so I could kind of pull that into a little bit more of a U shape. Okay, so let me see. Marianne, there's no pickup and knit in the shawl, so I'm not going to be doing that today. But I do actually have some Instagram reels. So if you follow me on Instagram, I have one pinned for you, and I can do that next week if you would like. Okay, so here is my second page here. I always want to point out that these abbreviations and the instructions for doing all the stitches assume that your stitches are mounted with the right leg in front and the left leg in back. So if you are a combination knitter or if you have your stitches mounted differently, that is going to make a big difference, especially when we're patterning on the wrong side. So with any type of directional stitches, it's going to make a big difference. And so make sure you know how your stitches are mounted. Okay, so this is a key to the chart symbols that are what you see is what you knit. You can tell because there's no right side, wrong side. Knit is always knit, purl is always purl. All these stitches are always going to be the same regardless of whether they're on the front or the back. So that is how, at a glance, you can tell what type of chart this is. Okay. So this is chart A, and I'm going to show you how to do this. This is also in my video that I uploaded. So rows 1 and 2 do not go all the way across. They just stop at the center here. And there's no short row method needed, nothing like that. And it's a design element basically. So I'll show you what that looks like when I do the cast on for you. And in this, I added marker placement because I mention it in the written instructions. So I have you on the wrong side rows, I have you knit to the marker. So I did add the placements in here so you can look at the chart and tell where your markers are. And I do actually really suggest that that you use markers because sometimes it's a little bit difficult to tell where the edging ends and the body of the shawl begins. So Marianne says, sorry, I saw pickup and yarn over in the pattern. I don't know what you're referring to. I'm sorry. Can you give me more information? Where did you see it? Okay, so let me show you this cast on. And if you have questions, I don't know if you have watched my video. The video, I was trying not to bore everybody to death by watching me knit forever, but also hopefully I gave you enough information. So we shall see. So we're going to cast on a total of 24 stitches. So that means I'm going to be casting on 12 stitches to each needle. I'm going to use Judy's Magic Cast On because, well, for two reasons. One is that I really like the way that it holds gauge. So I think it's really stable and nice. So I'm going to use a really long cable here on my circular needle, and it's really bendable and easy to work with. So, because this is going to start with the magic loop. So I suggest a very bendable cable. So if you're going to do Judy's, you're going to be holding your two needles side by side parallel like this with the tips pointing the same way. And I'm not casting on a ton of stitches, so I'm definitely, I'm just going to estimate here how much it's going to take. But because Judy's is a two-strand cast on, it's a little bit like the long tail in that respect. So it's possible that you might have too much yarn or not enough yarn. So let me see. So Robin says, will it be possible to find out how to purchase and set up in Knit Companion? If you want to wait a little bit, they will do this the setup for Knit Companion, but you can actually just take the PDF and put it in Knit Companion yourself. Okay. So I'm going to twist the yarn around my top needle here. So if you don't get it this way, it's not that big a deal, but having this top one go over the top and top one go over the top, well, that's really that's really good. Having this go over the top and this one underneath here, like with the right and back there, is going to make it a little bit easier so that later on when you're working, you're not going to have to do any twists in there, but it's not necessary. It's just helpful. Okay, so you're going to use your top finger. Oops, here we go. You're going to use, there we go. I haven't even started and stuff's falling off. Okay, so you're going to use your finger here for the bottom, and your thumb for the top. Okay, and I don't even know why I'm doing this because I think because I'm live and I'm having a moment here. Okay, so I'm going to come down in the bottom and go over like this. So on the bottom. So remember when you're doing this that you're going to be mounting everything with the right leg in front and the left leg in back. So as you go up and you're alternating, so this is your first stitch, and then there's your second stitch. It's the first stitch on the bottom needle. So you have to twist just a little bit to get your thumb in position, and then it's going to come up between your two needles and up around the top of that top needle. You can see how they're going to twist a little bit and back again, and your hand twists a bit, and it's going to come up through the middle here. So the way that I remember this is thumb to the top, finger to the bottom, and you always want your leg to be, your right leg to be in front and your left leg in back. So as long as you are thinking about that, it will be obvious where you want your yarn to go. Because I watched this with like, just like, what on earth are they doing? Until I realized that was actually what was going on. That it's mounted with right legs in front and left legs in back. So 12 on the top and 12 on the bottom. So 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So now I have 12, and you can see right in here, there's no purl bump on this side. When you turn it over, you will see that there is a purl bump. So this is the side that's going to be the right side. So we're going to use this purl bump as the first purl bump of our edging. So I have found that tying a little knot is incredibly helpful. So let me make sure I have enough stitches still. 2, 4, 8, okay, 11. Okay. I have found that tying a little tiny knot is really, really, really helpful because it keeps things from slipping. And you don't necessarily have to tie it super tight or anything like that. Just that little tiny knot helps keep all of your stitches from slipping off the needle, which I find to be very helpful. So I'm just going to tie this. If you want to tie it tighter, I suggest tying it in something that you can easily untie. So I'm just going to tighten it. Now it has a little pink bow. Okay. So now at this point, this is my right side right here. I'm going to take all of my ends and put them on the wrong side in between my needles. So I don't want to deal with those on the right side. So this is what I'm looking at. It has that little purl ridge right there. I definitely want that there. And now I'm going to pull this bottom needle through, and all of my bottom stitches here, they're just going to hang out on that cable until I'm ready for them. So if you're taking a look at the instructions, this is where you're going to be before you start working chart A. So here's chart A. So I'm ready to work this first row here. Okay, let me take a little break to make sure no one's asked a question. So Sue said, a natural Jamison and Smith Shetland Supreme one ply. That would be beautiful. That would be absolutely gorgeous. Oh, so Kathleen, I have so many, I have so many yarn fights. Yes. I mean, the thing about when you edit stuff out, like when I edited my videos, I edit out all of those things because I mean, who wants to watch that? But I think it is kind of cool to watch watch everybody has these struggles. So, okay, so I'm going to pull my one side of my knot. The other side is still in, but I'm using my working yarn here. I just pulled it a little tight. So I'm going to start on the first row of chart A. Okay. And if you haven't worked one of my patterns before, you will notice that there are yellow and white stripes, and that is a counting aid. So they're sectioned off in fives. Okay, so that's the end. I'm right here. So this little symbol there means to turn. So I'm just going to turn this around. There's no graceful way to do magic loops, so I just have to warn you ahead of time. Um, if you're like having needle problems and stuff like that, it's just not very graceful to watch. Okay, so now I'm up on row 2 here, and I still haven't worked these stitches on my cable. So I'm just going to work row 2 back to the side. So this is the center here where I started. And that's where all the body stitches are going to end up. So I'm just going to work over here, and then these last 3 stitches are worked through the back loop. So I'm just going to untie this part now. Let's save that later. Okay. I'm going to turn this around. I want to get all of my little strands of yarn in the back here. Okay. I am now on row 3. So row 3 is the first row that goes all the way across. So that means I'm going to go all the way across the top needle and then turn this corner and come up the other side. So this is the edge of the shawl right here, and in here is where all the body stitches are going to be. And now I'm going to be working row 3 right across. If you're not familiar with working lace charts, here's the time where I will say, when you cover something up, make sure you cover up the top so you can see how the motif is growing. And I'll talk a little bit more about charts a little later on. Another thing to remember is you're always going to work from the number. So odd rows are right to left, even rows are left to right. So all of these are no stitches, and I just turned here, and then the rest of that's just basically a placeholder. So here goes row 3. It's going to continue my patterning. So this first part can be a little bit fiddly, so don't worry if you're like, ugh, this is too fiddly. It's totally worth it because you cannot see where you start. Okay, so here is the point where I'm right here, and I'm going to turn the corner and go up the other side here. So that means that I have to put these stitches on my needle here and pull this bottom needle out. So I'm going to pull this out to the right, and then I'm going to be working the stitches off the top needle. And this is where I am right here. I'm at that yarn over. So I'm just going to stick my needle underneath that yarn and then start working these stitches right here. So that's 6 knits, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then the patterning, you'll see it will make sense to you when you get here because the yarn over is going to be right next to that yarn over, and then these 2 stitches are going to be knit together. So it's going to look like it's proper patterning there. Okay. And so that is our first full length row right there. It does not look like much, but you can see a little bit of the pattern coming out there. I do love interchangeables too, Judy. Absolutely. I mean, 32, 24, 32. I've done it on both of them. So 32 might be a little bit easier to do. Absolutely. Okay, so now I am on row 4. And let me get in here. So this first part is just knit. And I have you place markers in here. You don't necessarily, unless you feel like you might have problems figuring out where everything is. So, but you are going to need them on the charts after this. So, especially if you're working with a written instruction. So you can see how that yarn over has really grown. Do not worry about that. That is totally fine. I'm going to work 5 stitches into it. So I'm purling and then knitting and then purling. And then I always somehow drop the yarn over off my needle. Don't worry if that happens to you too. Just pick it back up. As long as you have 5 stitches inside this yarn over, you will be fine. Okay. So now I'm going to move to the other side. So it'll be probably partway through chart B before you can go away from the magic loop method. Um, Depends. If you really, really want to, you could probably do it after chart A, but I think it's easier if you wait until you're probably around row 5 or so, chart B. So every time I go around that corner on the inside, I always give it a little bit of an extra tug. And I find that helps with any extra laddering that might happen. Okay, so Sue says, oh, you have up to 80-inch cables now. Wow, that is crazy. Ah, that's so cool. I just got some 60-inch ones. So I'm pretty excited, but 80, I bow to you. That is amazing. I don't have any of those. I would love some. Okay, so now we're up on row 5. And again, can see I have the center part marked off here. I am on the right side. And if you need any help remembering which side is which, I've found that it's helpful just to put a pin on the right side, and then you can tell where you are. So let's go along here. I am on row 5, and I'm starting to grow a diamond here. That's the base of a diamond. I love watching this pattern emerge. So much fun. Okay, let's go around here. So I'm at the center again. And like I was saying before, like there is just no graceful way to do this. It's always going to look terrible. Oops. It's especially going to look terrible under my little camera here. You're always going to have that sort of loopy cable just kind of looping around there. Okay, so this part in the middle here, these are worked through the back loop, and that makes it nice and tidy. Just going to give that a little bit of a tug. Try to tension that a little bit extra. And now I'm to my next marker, and I'm going to be working the other side. I want to make sure that I don't drop my stitches. Okay. And on this, you can really tell that you are in the correct place because the patterning will be contiguous. You will see that you're building little motifs along the edge. Okay, that is the end of row 5. So it's starting to look like something. Woo! So let's see, Kathleen it says, my mind is a little waiting to see how this suddenly turns into what I expect to see as a row. Ah, well, I will have to work some more and show you how it turns into a row. Okay, so now I'm going to be up here on my last right side, or my last wrong side row of chart A. And just going to work around here. At some point, this is going to be, it's going to have enough material so that you can go all the way around on the end. And you don't have to do any weird shenanigans to turn that corner. So here are my 5 body stitches here. And now I'm going to turn my corner. So if you have ever worked magic loop for socks, this is a little bit the same, except that you're not going all the way around in a circle. And it's kind of like magic because at some point you're going to look at it and you're not really going to need the magic loop anymore. Okay, so here we go. All right, so we're ready for chart B now. This is what it looks like so far. So still, I think, kind of hard to turn that corner. So let's do a little bit of chart B down here. So on chart B, we're going to be increasing quite a bit. In that first row, it's going to be lots of increases. Okay. And I think I'm just going to try to get away from the magic loop now. Okay. So I could put in markers at this point. I do love my stitch markers. I'm not going to do that quite yet, though. So there's a yarn over right here at the corner. If you don't want to use that yarn over, if you want to add that on the wrong side now, that can keep things from getting a little big there. But it will definitely block out anyway. Just give it a good tug. So basically what you're doing here is you're just almost, you're a little more than doubling these center stitches here. You're going to go from 5 to 11. Okay, just make sure. Yeah. Got to make sure I was in the right place. Okay. And you can see you're getting more material here now to work with. Okay. Alrighty. So this is after the first row of chart B. This is what we have here. So I'm going to put this all together here so we can take a look at what we have so far. So this is the very top of the shawl. And now let's see, I think I probably need to still be doing my magic loop because I don't have enough leeway there yet. So I'm just going to do a little bit more. But I do want to show Kathleen the magical transformations when this becomes a row. So you're stuck with me. Okay, so I'm just going to scoot through this. This is row 2. It actually is a row, even though I'm using Magic Loop. It looks a little weird. It's a little bit off because it's not in the round, and I'm using Magic Loop to work something flat. But um, I swear it works out, and you won't be able to see where you cast on. This is just helping us get around the corners. I think I got stuck in my needles here. Okay, there we go. I'm actually weirdly feeling the humidity. Um, it's not usually humid here, and my yarn slides much easier on my needles, which seems really weird, but weird but true. Okay, somehow I lost my um, stitch marker, so I'm just going to put another one in here. So let me see. I'm just making sure I see if you have any questions or anything. The ice cream sounds amazing. Okay, I'm going to turn this over now. Okay, so we are on row 3. So let's see how this may be the row where I can do without my magic loop. I don't actually like magic loop all that much, but it comes in handy for this. I mean, it's so handy for this. Oops. I was like, what did I do? That's what I did. Okay. And I always like to work my stitches over my yarn overs. The next right side row, I'm going to work them through the back loop. And I think I might be able to just continue the row now. I think I have enough room to do that. So I'm going to leave off my magic loop and work across here. Okay, so there you go. It is on row 3 that I was able to stop the magic loop. Okay, so now everything is going to look like this. It's going to look all completely bunched up on your needle, just in a little blob like that. So if you want to look at what it actually looks like, you need to put it on the cable and stretch it around like this. So this is where the loop was from the magic loop, but now there's enough material along here so you don't have to do that anymore. Okay, and let me go over. I'm just going to do a wrong side row here, and then I will answer questions. So you can take a look at this. Okay, so my philosophy is if you have to wait for something, it should be an amazing thing worth waiting for. So I hope I hope you're as happy with this as I am because I'm like really happy. I'm really, really happy with this design and really happy to share it with you. Okay, let's get here. So now I'm just working, I can just work straight across. I don't have to do anything with my magic loop again. I'm completely ready to work the rest of the shawl. Oops, there we go. Alrighty. So this is where we are. This is after row 4 of the of chart B, and you can see kind of where it started up here because here's the yarn tail. But this is how it should look. It should look just completely continuous across the top there. So these yarn overs should look continuous across there, and this line here should all look continuous. So let me see if I have questions. You guys are you're so good for my ego. I love you guys. Thank you. You are so sweet. Um, so let me see any other, yes, yes. Okay. So I do want to say, this looks complex, but it's just basically like stitch by stitch. So if you could do my mystery shawl, you can do this as well. This is a finer material, so that's going to be the biggest thing is getting used to working with lace weight if you have never worked with lace weight before. So if you feel like you're not sure about working with lace weight, you can actually do this in fingering. And you would not have to go up a needle size or anything like that. You could just do it in fingering weight. So I would say that the biggest jump here between the mystery shawl and this one is basically the yarn weight. Because if you could do all of those, yes, you said it does look like a cat head. Aw, look at the little ears. That's really cute. But you can totally do this. Absolutely, totally do this. And it's just like stitch by stitch. So if you have if you did the mystery shawl or if you're halfway through it, I think that the biggest hurdle, I think, is when you look at a long pattern and you're like, oh my God, that's such a long pattern. I could never do that. But in reality, it's just like if you section it off into little bits, it's just so much less overwhelming to look at. It's just like one chart after another. So just like one little piece, and then you go on to the next little piece, and they add up. And at the end, you have this beautiful thing. So let me see if I have any. Let's see. Um, so. So yarn suggestions, I see. Um, Mine is 875 yards for 100 grams. So I would definitely do something that will block out well. Um, you want it to be you don't want it to be something that will squish back in really easily. So something that will block out well, silk, like a silk and uh, BFL blend. This is 100% BFL, blue face luster, which is a long wool. So it's not as, it doesn't have the amount of memory that a merino has. So it will keep a block better. So whatever you want to use, you could use, since it's on size 6, you could use anywhere from this this type of weight up to maybe a fingering weight, depending on the yarn. So, for instance, if you wanted to do floating, because I know a lot of you just were doing the mystery shawl. If you want to do floating, that would work really well, and you could just use the same size needle. If you're going to use something with more memory, you might want to go up a little bit, a larger needle. So, yeah, let me see. Other questions? Okay, make sure. Alrighty, okay. So I am actually going to, I'm going to have more lives on this as well because I think it's actually probably helpful to chop it up into little pieces. So, yes, so Ms. Vegan time. Alpaca would be beautiful. That would be fabulous. So, um, okay. One thing to remember about lace weight alpaca is that it looks even worse before you block it. Like it looks so bad. So don't freak out when you see that. It's okay. It will block out, I swear. So let me see if I have any. Oh, Joy, we're about. It's nice to see you. We're about to end for today because the thunderstorms are getting closer. So I'm probably going to lose power pretty soon. But I am going to have these every week. So I'm going to chop this up. And the way that I will organize it from now on is I will talk about and demonstrate parts from the shawl and go over charts and stuff like that. And then I will also have just a little segment and like answer your questions and stuff like that. So, Marianne, I will talk about picking up and knitting next week. And then also, if you follow me on Instagram, I have a reel pinned actually in my reel sections that has picking up and knitting. And I will say this one thing about picking up and knitting. A lot of people interchange pickup and like pick up stitches and pick up and knit. So pick up and knit is what you do when you make a loop with new yarn. And pick up is what you do when there is no new yarn involved. You pick up a loop from the existing piece. However, people do use them interchangeably. So if you see a pattern and you're not sure which it is, you can often tell by just looking at the context of the instruction. So that's my only thing that I'm going to say this week. And then next week, I will go over it more. So let me see. Thanks, Sue. For it's weird, like in the east, it clears humidity to get thunderstorms. Here, it adds humidity because it's so dry here. It's it's weird. But yeah, so we have flash flood warnings, which will probably be fine for me. So don't worry. And yeah, we'll be fine, but probably powerless for a little while. So not that big a deal. Anyway, so thank you all so much for joining me today. And if you have any questions or anything you need some help, like accessing your pattern or whatever, um, you can find me on Ravelry. There's a thread in my Ravelry group about this. We'll also be talking about it in my Facebook group. And then you can write to me at help@designsbyromy.com. So the Ravelry group will always be the fastest answer you can get because I I'm just not able to respond as fast as like the whole community on Ravelry can. So often people have like jumped right in and like they're, knitting away crazy. Some of you are so fast. So that's always going to be a little bit faster. And if they don't know the answer to the question, they'll ear burn me and I will be there. So yeah, just let me know if there are any videos or anything like that that you would like to see, let me know about that. And now I am going to go off and like choose all the prizes for the mystery shawl, all your beautiful finished mystery shawls. So stay tuned for that. And then I will also be back next Thursday. So thank you everybody so much for joining me today. And let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay. Okay. It's lovely to see you all. Don't be a stranger. I'll be all around. And if you have any questions or anything like that, just ask me. So thank you so much. And thank you again for your patience and your kindness. It means the world to me. So thank you, everybody. Bye bye.